Meanwhile, a new vote to potentially end the partial U.S. government shutdown expected as early as this week could be a very big week on that front. The Senate due to vote on restoring funding to agencies like ICE and Border Patrol. So let's go live to Capitol Hill and CBS News congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns. Good to see you, friend. So where do these negotiations stand in the Senate at this hour?
Well, Reed, this is the longest shutdown of DHS that we've ever seen before, and hopefully it is reaching its conclusion. Let me lay down what's going to happen this week, likely. The House has to vote on a measure. The Senate already passed, by unanimous consent, a measure to essentially fund most of DHS except for ICE and Border Patrol. And the agreement was that they would fund those two agencies within the agency in a separate bill, what's called through a reconciliation package, a lot of gobbledygook jargon up here, but basically a way to pass funding for those two parts through basically just a Republican majority. So the House is essentially waiting for the Senate to start that part of everything. And meanwhile, they still have to vote on the underlying bill here. So bottom line, paychecks for TSA workers, you may remember, who were funded by the administration, that money runs out at the end of this week. So the pressure is really building here because we've seen kind of patchwork measures to help some workers get paid, but by and large, most people who have been working for DHS have been going without a paycheck for this entire time. So the pressure is building. They know they need to get this done, and potentially with that, threat of no longer paychecks for TSA workers, and we saw the impact that had at the airports, that could put the pressure on the House to pass something soon.
So as you start your week chasing answers there on Capitol Hill, I've got to ask you a question on behalf of millions of Americans who are concerned about their privacy. We, of course, know that bill extends a controversial surveillance program by the U.S. spy agencies. It's set to expire in 10 days. So then what happens?
Yeah, Reed, I think this is a really interesting topic right now. And it basically, what we're talking about is the surveillance of non-Americans' data to be able to perform, national security issues. It's all about non-Americans' data, but Americans could get swept up in that data collection, and that is at the heart of the concern about this. The president and House and Senate Republican leadership want to extend this authorization for at least 18 more months. Some want 5 more years. The current law just extend it, but you've got a lot of conservatives in the House who say, wait, this is a civil liberties issue. We need to see reforms to the program because they are concerned about Americans' data being swept up in all of this. The administration is arguing that they need this authorization to be able to conduct operations like we saw in Venezuela, like we're seeing in Iran and elsewhere at a really critical time. This lapsed today. So over the weekend, in a last-minute measure, the House and Senate were able to pass a short-term 2-week extension for this, but they are needing to get this beyond that 2-week extension, and so they're trying to find the votes for that now. But a fascinating debate that involves civil liberties, that involves the president wanting something, conservatives wanting another, and leadership on both sides trying to figure out a way to get this through.
Caitlin Huey-Burns, it's going to be a big week. Thank you so much.